What's going on? Vincent Repsardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. If you guys can give this a like, if you can comment, I would really appreciate that. Helps the algorithm to get more people to watch the channel. A lot of energy today, Giants Twitter, Giants fans in general, and it's good to see. It's finally good to see some positivity. Instead of talking about who's going to get fired and what player needs to be traded and how this whole thing was a disaster, there's finally some positivity when it comes to Giants football. And I don't think it's just because they won a game. I think it's how they won it and who stood out. Jones, Andrew Thomas, Saquon Barkley. Players that they expected a lot from, that fans expected a lot from for the future of the team. And without these players, the future wasn't going to be anything. Now, it's just one game. I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win 10 games and make the playoffs this year. We'll see what happens. Really strong ending to that game yesterday, and it certainly looks good. They certainly look like they're heading in a nice direction after a very rough 0-3 start. But those guys, those are the cornerstone players that they took very high in the draft that, rightfully so, a lot of people were down on. And then you have a game like that where Andrew Thomas has played fairly well this year, but he played really, really well yesterday. People loved what they saw from Andrew Thomas. Pro Football Focus gave him like an 88.9 pass blocking grade in yesterday's game. I don't love their grading system, so I'm not going to sit here. I'll tell you it, and then you make your own judgment on whether you want to take it as an important stat or not. I'm just saying, a lot of people generally just watched the game. They said Andrew Thomas played really well, and he did, aside from their Pro Football Focus grades. Daniel Jones was outstanding, completed 70% of his passes, 40 passes, averaged over 10 yards per attempt. That's really good. That is really, really good. He put the team on his back towards the end of the game. He did. Chunk plays, big plays. That's the kind of player that he is. I've always said that. I don't think Jones is going to be this dink and dunk and precise and like a Drew Brees kind of player. I think Daniel Jones is going to be a guy who stretches the field. Maybe he makes some mistakes, but he's going to take some big risks and he's going to make some big plays, which reminds me a lot of what Eli did in his prime. Eli Manning threw some interceptions, but he made some of the biggest plays in the history of football. Tyree and Manningham. So that's what we're seeing with Jones, and we know that his rushing ability is there as well. And if you look at Jones overall this season, right now he's 8th in completion percentage over expectation. So basically, quarterbacks throw passes, and then there's a certain expectation analytically whether those passes are usually completed or not. Well, he's 8th in that category, which means he's completing more passes than he's expected to complete, which usually points to a quarterback being a pretty talented, good thrower of the football. You want to have a high COPO. I don't know. CPO? I don't know. Completion percentage over expectation. I know that whatever. Okay. So he's 8th in that category. If you look at EPA, expected points added, another analytics term, he's 3rd among quarterbacks. He's legit. I think anyone who watched that game, a lot of people are really excited, not just because the Giants won, but because Daniel Jones looked damn good. In the first 3 games of the season, most people have been fairly impressed with him. I did a video right before Sunday's game, and I said, I think he's a franchise quarterback. He came out yesterday, and I think he proved to just about everyone he's got what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. Everything is there. It's up to the Giants to give him a little bit more help. And when I say that, I think the talent is there, but the defense needs to play better. They got some good players, but they need to play better. The offensive line played fairly well on Sunday. That needs to continue, right? And you can see what kind of potential the offense has and what Jones has, the potential he has, if you got things clicking on the offensive line, especially if you get things clicking on the defensive side of the football. You're looking at a pretty interesting Giants football team moving forward. Saquon Barkley had a really, really nice game, the 50-plus yard touchdown. He had the game-winning touchdown, that really important 2nd and 14 screenplay in overtime. That was incredibly that was really important to put the Giants in a really nice spot in overtime to win the football game. Now, if you look at the stats with when Jones has Barkley and when he doesn't, if anyone's on Giants Twitter, you've known for years there's been a decent amount of group of people who absolutely despise the draft pick of Saquon Barkley, and then there's some people that they like Barkley and they defend it and they say, look, he's a good player, this and that, but there's been a big clash. And I understand both sides, and I've always said I understand people not loving the pick of Barkley 2nd overall. But what needs to be understood is he's a playmaker. He's just not a typical old school running back. You're going to give it's a dive play. He's just going to run up the middle 20 times a game. He's a guy that you can move around. He caught 91 passes as a rookie. He's a dynamic football player. He's a playmaker. And you look at Jones with Barkley, and you look at Jones without Barkley. 17 games without Barkley. 12 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 15 games with Barkley, 27 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. You could say, oh, maybe that has nothing to do with Barkley. Look, all I'm saying is I think that Barkley kind of helps you out when you're a quarterback. So for the very large crowd of people that think Barkley is just, he's whatever, he's just a running back and running backs are absolutely irrelevant, I think that's a very blanket statement to make. There's some players that are just really, really good and really talented, and they are great playmakers, and Saquon Barkley is one of those players. You want him on the field, period. That's a guy you want on your football team. He's not just an ordinary running back. So that is that. Daniel Jones he's third in average completed air yards. He's throwing the football down the field consistently. That's the player that he is. Kadarius Toney had a great game yesterday, 6 catches, 78 yards. You look at the average separation, right? Separation for Kadarius Toney, 3.7 yards. The league average is 2.8. So he's creating a ton of separation, and he's very elusive with the football. He reminds me a lot of Dante Hall, the former Chiefs kick returner, wide receiver. He's got that human joystick element to him. It makes him tough to tackle, and he's a guy that needs to he continually needs to be involved heavily in their game plan. Whether Shepard and Slayton are there or not, I don't care. You have to give this guy a minimum of like 5 targets a game, and you have to find ways to do it. Maybe you're struggling at whatever it is. Throw a little bubble screen at him. Do something. Put him in the backfield. I don't care what it is. He's so talented. He is just so talented, and he's just a player. If he didn't work out, I would say it's 100% on the team because they just didn't utilize him. The talent is there, and he showed it yesterday. So averaging 3.7 yards of separation, league average 2.8. He's creating a ton of separation before he gets the football. It helps Daniel Jones. And then after he catches the football, he's as elusive as it gets. He's a joystick, a human joystick. So I wanted to talk about those main things. Again, Andrew Thomas stood out. Rave reviews. People love what they're seeing from Andrew Thomas, as you should. And I don't know if Dave Gettleman is going to be back next year with the Giants. I don't know what his future is going to look like. I don't think there's any guarantee that he's going to continue being the Giants GM. What I will say, he found the Giants a franchise quarterback and left tackle for the future. He did. Maybe the other pieces don't work out. I don't know. Maybe injuries, the defense doesn't do this. I don't know. Things crumble. I don't know. But what I will say is he found the Giants a franchise quarterback and left tackle.